Hey everybody, welcome to the Spanish Code. I am Christian Robinson, the owner of Spanish Fit. With me as always, the professor extraordinaire, Nelfer Velija. And today, we are going to talk about one of the funnest things in Spanish, reflexive verbs. What in the is a reflexive verb? Well, unfortunately, it's something new for most of you. It's something that we don't exactly do in English. So, to be short about it, in Spanish, I don't wash my hands. I wash myself, and then I clarify what part of myself I wash. So in Spanish, that comes out to I wash myself the hands. So it is a new concept, but reflexive verbs, there's no way to get around them in Spanish. A lot of you have probably seen verbs like in the dictionary as you're studying that end with the letters SE, like dormirse or despertarse. That is the identifier that the verb is reflexive, or that it is used in a reflexive way. So before we start, guys, please remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Leave us your comments below. We'll get to a lot of your questions in other podcasts. But let's hit the ground running. Reflexive verbs. Nelfer, how do you look at a cross-eyed student and explain reflexive verbs?
Yeah, this concept is a little bit different from English. We've been telling you a lot of times that in order to learn a new language, it's not only translating word by word. You're gonna find some concepts like this one, reflexive, when you need to start thinking in Spanish, because we're gonna be saying a lot of me, te. Remember the pronouns we were studying before, but now we're gonna use it when we're receiving the action, a reflection. The best way to see it is like this. When you look at the mirror, you're not looking the object, you're looking yourself. So you're gonna put in your brain right now, every time I think about self, myself, yourself, probably it's gonna be a reflexive action in Spanish. But now we're gonna see it, unless you wanna say something first.
No, I love that. So yeah, guys, it's things we do to ourselves.
Not that, but that too.
So it's things we do to ourselves, but in our brain, sometimes in our English brain, we're gonna say, oh, I am doing that to myself, right? Like I'm hurting myself, right? That's obviously reflexive, but a lot of times it's an action that isn't flagged by your brain. Like I'm bathing, right? In Spanish, it's not I'm bathing, it's I'm bathing myself. Always, because it's something I am doing to myself. Right now, I'm touching myself.
He always does. What I'm saying is that a reflexive action is something that nobody can do for you. When you do it personally, you cannot say, I stay you, right? So we're gonna say that as a reflexive structure as well in Spanish. But let's review a little bit the grammar behind it. And we need to go back to the structure of the sentence. I'm always gonna be using this because it's the best way to see it and how to structure it. Remember that every time we build the sentence in Spanish, we have the subject, the verb, and the complementary information. We already know this. What's a complementary information? Information about where, when, who is receiving the action, and what is receiving the action. And sometimes this complementary information can be a person or an object receiving that action, like I just said. But when it comes to reflexive, the structure is gonna be the same one we've been doing. We place the subject, then we put the pronoun, and then we put the verb, like te amo. You've seen that, remember? Yo te amo. Here you have the subject, it's me. I conjugate the verb depending on the person who's performing, still me. And who's receiving? You. And I place it in front of it, te amo. You know that one already. But what happens when I love myself? What's the pronoun that we're gonna use to say that I'm the one performing the action and at the same time I'm the one receiving the action, like he touching himself, right? So what we have here is a new structure that sometimes the subject and the object receiving the action are gonna be the same. When they are equal, we have a reflexive action. If I'm performing and receiving, it doesn't matter if I'm washing myself, touching myself, loving myself. So many routine actions are gonna be like this. When I put on makeup, when I cut my nails, when I comb my hair, all of those actions are gonna be reflexive because I'm the one performing and at the same time I'm receiving that action. So in order to understand reflexive in general, we need to cover it with 3 lines. The first one, concept. This is the concept. The subject and the object are the same in the sentence. Second, the pronouns. What are the pronouns that I'm gonna use when an action is reflexive? And third, the verbs. What kind of verbs and actions are reflexive? Because we're gonna have the routine verbs, everything that you do every day, like brushing your teeth, etc. And then we're gonna have reciprocal verbs. Every time we do something to each other, right? So we love each other, we're gonna need a pronoun there. We hate each other, we fight, we're gonna need reflexive. Right.
Yep. A good way to see if a verb can be used in a reflexive way is to just look at the definition of a verb and add one's self to that definition. Okay, so comer, to eat. I eat other things. So comerse with an SE would literally mean to eat oneself. Is it possible? Yes. Really disturbing, but it's possible. All right, how about
hit? To punch.
Yeah, golpear. So I hit him, it's not reflexive. If I punch myself, me golpeo. I punch myself, I hit myself. One I really like is the verb perder from a famous rock song. I lose my keys, to lose. I lose my computer. But if I lose myself in an activity or in your eyes or in your beautiful love, that's perder se. Okay. So now what we need to do is show you guys what the pronouns are, which we must use to make the verb reflexive, and we'll show you how we're going to structure the reflexive verb sentence, which is the same as any other sentence.
Yeah, let's say you already know the reflexive verbs. We're gonna get into that, but let's say you know them. And then you say, okay, how do I proceed with this? First, I need to remember the pronouns, and we have, again, the personal pronouns to remember which one is what we're covering, like yo, tú, él, you know these ones. Is the one that we put in front of the verb, like who's performing the action. But when I'm gonna say who's receiving the action in a reflexive action, we have for yo, me. You know this one. We have been covering. It's the same for the direct object. It's the same for indirect object. It's when it's about me, it's always gonna be me. You're never gonna have trouble with this one. So,
essentially, that's what you are in a reflexive sentence. You are the direct object. But we have to call them reflexive verbs because they're slightly different. And they have slightly different pronouns, as we're about to see.
Yeah, for you is te, the same one. But then we're gonna have for he, she, it, se. And then you're gonna see se here, se, then we have nos, and for you guys it's se as well, and for they, se. That's why we decided to call these verbs with the se at the end. Whenever you see like to stay, you look at the translator and you see quedar is an AR verb, and then they put the se in one word, quedarse. Since it's the most common one, that's the way we decided to call them, like to let you know, you who are learning Spanish, that this verb is gonna need another thing in front when you're conjugating and using it, right?
So now, how do we make the sentences? Let's look at a.
Yeah. The structure, again, you already know it, but it's important to review it. We put the subject if we need it. Remember, if it's yo, it's optional. You can say yo, and then you put the pronoun, yo me, and then you conjugate the verb, which you already know. So if you want to say, I love myself, it would be yo, optional, me amo.
Me amo. I love myself. I have a lot of confidence. Me amo.
Yeah, remember, like, if you want to say llamar, to call, I call myself, which is weird, but probably you know the sentence in Spanish. Me llamo, I call myself. This is basically what we say. Whenever you're looking for the translation of what my name is, you're going to see not the literal translation. It's going to be me llamo. And literally what we say is, me llamo Nel. I call myself Nel. You can call me Nel. Se llama Chris. Se llama. And now we're going to see the entire conjugation.
And then I ask you guys, what's your name? ¿Cómo te llamas?
Which literally means,
what do you call yourself?
Exactly. And then we've been speaking about these verbs, and now we can see one word. We're putting color so you can see it clearly. Bañarse, to take a shower, to bath. right?
To bathe.
To bathe. So we have bañarse, and whenever we're gonna use it, we learn how to conjugate an AR verb. Remember, baño, bañas, baña, bañamos, and you guys bañan. But in this case, we're gonna need an extra thing. So if I wanna conjugate for me is me baño or yo me baño, both work.
If I say you're going to take a shower, it is going to be te bañas.
Se baña, the third person.
He or she.
Exactly. Nos bañamos, you can say the whole thing. Nosotros nos bañamos. Makes sense. But nos bañamos is enough.
Hey, Nelfer, nos bañamos más tarde? No. Will we bathe each other later?
And se bañan, you guys or they take a shower, right?
Yeah, it stinks, guys. Ustedes no se bañan? You guys don't shower yourselves? You don't wash yourselves? What the F?
Yeah, and there you go. This is how, whenever you have a reflexive verb, this is what you're gonna do with it. And then you're gonna learn past tense and future tense, but this is always gonna be here, and then the conjugation depending on the one who's performing. And then you can see it with these arrows. The pronoun goes in front. The se is becoming me, te, se, no, se. And the AR, which you already know, is the conjugation for these regular verbs. There you go. This is the conjugation for reflexive verbs. If you're learning quedarse, me quedo, te quedas, se queda, nos quedamos, se quedan. If you're learning, I don't know, peinarse, me peino, te peinas, se peina, nos peinamos, se peinan. Yes, it's a new thing that you need to deal with. But
also a lot of it's not just like it's kind of a coincidence, but a lot of the reflexive verbs are going to be irregular in the middle. So they're going to change the spelling, not at the end, but in the middle, like despertarse. That's one of the most important, to wake up. Me despierto a las 8. Me despierto a las 8. ¿A qué hora te despiertas, Nel?
Me despierto normalmente a las 6.
Ok, muy bien. ¿Y con quién te despiertas?
Me despierto con mi esposa.
So let's open up the English brain. I want to show you guys something real quick. El cerebro de español. All right, so your English brain. We have the verb to bathe, of course. And it doesn't have to be used in a reflexive way. So it's only reflexive when I'm bathing myself. So the mom bathes her body. La mamá baña a su bebé. That's not reflexive, right? Because she's not doing it to herself. Now, if I say the mom takes a shower and bathes herself, now we are into reflexive territory because it's something she's doing to herself, right? So la mamá, estoy por el idioma equivocado. Okay, la mamá baña, no, la mamá se baña. Why the se? Because she's doing it to herself. All right, so if she doesn't love herself, la mamá no se ama.
Write it down.
La mamá de Nelfer me ama. That's not reflexive because she loves me.
Yeah, and the pronoun is gonna be similar to, but in this case is the direct object pronoun.
Oh,
when it comes to me, te, nos, remember, you don't need to think about it. It's always the third person, se, lo, la, le, where you need to stop, think, structure, who's performing, who's receiving, what is being received, and then you're gonna have the clue there, and with practice it's gonna be better, right?
Right. What is the root of the verb casarse? What is like the root meaning from Latin?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe it has something to do with hunting, because casar with the Z, but it's not. I'm just joking. I don't know that
is the reflexive verb to marry yourself to somebody. And when I was learning Spanish, I thought that casar was the same verb as coser. So I was thinking, oh, I'm going to sew myself to that person. And I thought it made so much sense. And then I realized that they're actually two different verbs.
Now you got me thinking now. I'm thinking about casa, house, and then casar is like to build home, right?
Okay.
Probably it's
to
related
home
to
myself.
Yeah.
That's what it means in the root. Cool. Oh yeah, casa.
Yeah.
Duh. All right, cool. Now, there are some verbs that are going to make your brain go kind of crazy. So here's one of them, right? If I walk, I'm doing it to myself, but it's not a reflexive verb, and I don't know how to explain that to you guys because I'm not the real professor. The real professor is Nelfer. So tell me, Nelfer, why is caminar not reflexive? What the F?
Well, in this case, we need to think about something that is called transitivos or intransitivos verbs.
Okay.
Transitive verbs are those who need an object. Sometimes we have options like heating. If I say I heat, without any context, you're gonna be like, what do you heat? Like, you need more. When I say I walk, it's enough information. Let's say I punch a lot. You punch a lot. What? Like people, the wall. What are you punching? You need a what to feel or to complete the sentence. But if I say I walk a lot, that's enough. I'm giving you enough information. I don't walk something. I just walk.
Okay, but have you ever heard somebody say instead of yo camino, me camino un rato?
Never.
Never.
Because it's an intransitive verb. That's the way they call it. Like to think. You don't think something. You think of something. In Spanish, tú piensas en algo. So these verbs are never going to have reflexive or direct objects or pronouns because they don't need them.
Okay.
But the thing is, there's something really interesting about Spanish. Let's say you have the word correr. Can you write it down for me while I'm explaining? Correr is like caminar. It's not a transitive verb. It doesn't need an object. You can say, I run a lot. Yo corro mucho.
Okay.
This is the magic of the Spanish, guys. When you have a verb that doesn't need reflexive or pronouns, and you end up saying me correrse, you put the se at the end, or me corro, you're saying something sexual. So pay attention. Not all the verbs need reflexive. And if you do mess up and you put that reflexive, like venir, to come, and then you say me vengo instead of vengo, I come, it's gonna be sexual.
But a lot of times it's kind of funny because you add the oneself to the end, right? So, yo toco el ratoncito, me toco. It becomes sexual in a lot of ways. So you want to be really careful. Comer, to eat. It is very common for a Latin woman to express herself that way and say, I want to do that with us. What is she talking about? She's ready to go, man.
Yeah, this is not an expression in Spanish, but if I say it like to someone who speaks Spanish, like trabajo is what I want to say. But if I mess up and I say me trabajo, it's like I'm working on myself, like in a sexual way. So pay attention whenever you're using reflexive and remembering these rules. And of course, you're going to need to know and recognize when a verb is reflexive and why, and you're going to be dealing with that. But let's see a few of them, like to remember the routine verbs, for example, to create a list so you remember and you have something to practice with. Let's say despertarse, the one we used before, despertarse, to wake up, levantarse, to get up.
Let's use the verb, I love this one because organizar is a super major verb in Spanish, but it's like to organize my room or to organize my desk. But if I say organizarse, it's to organize oneself. Oh, it's to get ready. Great, great, great verb. Organizarse.
Cepillarse, to brush your teeth.
Organizarse.
You want me to read that one? Organizarse, to get ready. Peinarse, this one, to comb your hair. And something that I like to say whenever I'm teaching reflexive is that we're never going to be talking about routines. So sometimes when we're in class, of course, it's a good way to start and to remember how to use it and to apply it. But you need to focus on those verbs that you're going to be using a lot. For example, it's better to understand, like, I'm never going to be speaking about my routine. Like, I wake up at 7, then I comb my hair. You're never saying this in a real situation. It's good to have them to practice, but something that you need to do is to learn those ones that you're going to be saying a lot. For example, if you're traveling, where are you staying? I'm going to stay at the hotel, at the hostel, whatever. Quedarse, to stay, is a really important verb. That one you need to memorize, practice with this one. Or irse. And now you're gonna be like, what the hell? Irse? You know ir.
So ir to go. Irse changes meanings. It means to leave. So when you hear somebody say me voy, they're saying I'm leaving. If I say voy, it's like I'm on my way, right? I'm coming, right? But me voy, me fui, I left. Super, super important. So we're leaving. Nos vamos.
Yeah.
¿A qué hora te vas?
Me voy a las 3.
Ah, okay. At what time are you leaving? Me voy a las 3. Genial. Another good one would be complain. Complain. Quejarse.
Quejarse. You're going to use it a lot.
Quejarse is something generated from inside of me, so it's a reflexive verb to complain. Me quejo or no me quejo. I don't complain about it. I'm cool. No me quejo. ¿Por qué me quejas? Is he...
Say it again. ¿Por qué te quejas sobre mí? Or te quejas de mí? Why do you complain about me?
¿Por qué te quejas de mí?
When I was learning English, something funny happened because I was so stressed out that I knew so many verbs. And at some point, somebody told me, do you know the phrasal verbs? What do you mean phrasal verbs? I mean, you combine this verb with this preposition or whatever, and you're getting a new word related to the Spanish. When you translate it, you're going to have so many words. For example, to look is mirar. But suddenly you put for look for, and it's another word in Spanish. And I say, what the hell? I knew look. I don't even know that look for is another thing. And don't get me started with to get. Get up, get down, get in. So many verbs in Spanish only for this one. That's a phrasal verb. We do the same in Spanish. We change the meaning of the thing in relationship with English by putting reflexive. Ir is to go. Irse is to leave.
Dormir is to sleep. What do you guys think dormirse means? To sleep oneself. To go to bed. Ah, me duermo a las 8.
Yeah, another one would be comer is to eat. And comerse can be either like to eat yourself, which is weird,
literally,
or to eat up. I ate yesterday. Comí ayer. Me comí 5 empanadas. It means that I finished them.
We kind of use comer in English occasionally in a reflexive way in English. Like, oh, I'm going to have myself a little snack. Me como un tentempié, right?
Tentempié.
What's the other one?
Mecato in Colombia. We would say mecato for snack.
Mecato.
Yeah, mecato. In Colombia only we would use.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a snack for myself. So me como un mecato, por ejemplo. So yeah, there are some similarities that do exist in your brain. It's just not very common.
Yeah, and the weirdest one, even for me, I don't know why do we do this. Volver is to return, right? But volverse is to become. Vuelvo a mi casa a las 10. I return to my place at 10. Me vuelvo un doctor. I become a doctor. Me volví un profesor hace 10 años. I became a teacher 10 years ago. Why? There's no relationship. It's something that you're going to need to deal with. And luckily for you guys, there's not a lot, like 11 that are important, the ones that we're putting here, and the ones that you're going to find on the PDF. But you remember to like, subscribe, and comment whatever you want to ask about reflexive.
Let's look at quedarse. And really what you guys need to do is just like we did with the present tense, we need to memorize the pronouns that we must use with the reflexive verbs. And we have to remember our conjugations. So using your hands and doing association with new verbs that are reflexive, you can look up a list of reflexive verbs in about 6 seconds, but do it with your hands. Me quedo aquí. Te quedas en Medellín. Él queda en
Se queda.
Cali. Él se queda en Cali. Nosotros nos quedamos en Bogotá. Y ustedes se quedan en la casa. You guys are staying at home. Okay.
Man.
So it's going to take a lot of work. You have to get used to it. But it's going to go a long way because when you hear that say, there's other versions of say as well. But when you hear that say, generally you're going to be hearing a reflexive thought.
Yeah, and before we finish, we want to show you what's the order of the reflexive pronouns. We've been doing this with the direct and indirect objects. But remember this, the rule. When you have one conjugated verb, you have only one option. You put the pronoun in front. If I want to say me baño, Me quedo, me cepillo, me maquillo, me corto el pelo. Everything you put it in front because it's one conjugated verb. It doesn't matter if it's present, future, or past tense. And when you have two verbs, like always, you have two options. You can either put it in front of the whole structure, pronoun, conjugated verb, and then the infinitive verb like me quiero bañar.
Me necesito bañar.
Yeah, me quiero quedar. I want to stay here. Me quiero quedar aquí. Me quiero ir. I want to leave. Or you can attach it to the infinitive verb, like quiero bañarme. The meaning is the same. We don't use this more than this one. It's just something that exists in Spanish. You can say quiero quedarme. Tengo que quedarme. I have to stay. Necesito quedarme. I need to stay. Voy a quedarme. I'm gonna stay. Etc. etc.
All right, so you're gonna hear it a lot in music. It's a really common thing, but in a lot of ways this is just a hack. But every time your brain thinks each other, we're gonna use reflexive study. We're going to use reflexive structure. So there's I don't know even what the song is, but he says, con ganas de besarse, con ganas de lo pasa lo que pasa, right? What is he saying? They really want to kiss themselves? No, they really want to kiss each other. Ah, okay, con ganas de besarse. We talk to each other. Nos hablamos. Sure. Nos hablamos todos los días. We talk every day. We talk to each other every day. Right? We see each other. Nos vemos. It's the most common way to say goodbye in Spanish. Nos, each other, we see. We see each other. Nos vemos. Nos vemos. What other verbs with each other? Right? There's so many.
We hate each other.
Nos odiamos. We hate each other. We love each other. Nos amamos. Right?
To fight, usually you need two to fight, right? So in Spanish we would say we fight each other.
Nos discutimos.
Nos peleamos.
Nos peleamos. Nos peleamos.
Nos peleamos, we fight. So everything that you can do like this, to hug, abrazar, probably unless you're hugging a tree or something like that, when you hug someone, is if he loves you or she loves you, if they love you, it's gonna be like a reciprocal action, right? So nos abrazamos. They hug each other. How would you say that? Stop the video, think about it. Se abrazan.
Se abrazan.
Etc. etc. A lot of romantic words are.
Yeah, guys, the reflexive makes, you want to be really careful with it. Like Nelver said, venir, to come. Venir, say, uh-oh. What other ones? How about acostar, to lay myself down, like for a nap. Me acuesto. But if I say, hey, Nelver, nos acostamos, what am I asking him? Do you want to go to bed with me? Uh-oh. So we can only talk like that to Nelfer's mom, basically.
Okay. We're going to be talking more about reflexive. It's a lot. When we are covering the past tense, we're going to come back to this and see them again and see different concepts. This is what we want to give you now so you understand a little bit that this exists and what's its logic, right?
Right, and it is logical, guys. Remember, take a verb, add oneself to the end of that definition, and if it makes sense, it probably makes sense in a reflexive way. All right, so we will come back. We'll do more stuff on reflexive verbs. We have to go through them in every tense. We have to go through them with every structure, right? So in the meantime, while we're preparing our next video, remember to like and subscribe this video, leave us your comments below, and we will see you guys all very soon for the next Spanish Code podcast. Ciao, ciao.
Nos vemos.
Nos vemos.